Dun, 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 dun. Using the variables provided, we created a testable hypothesis. A person who exercises more than 3 hours a week will have a lesser change in heart rate while taking an exam.
Looking at background research, it is known that people that are athletic tend to have lower resting heart rate. This is because a fit individual has a larger stroke volume. Stroke volume is the volume of blood pumped per heartbeat, which means the greater the stroke volume, the greater volume of oxygen delivered to the body. However, is there a connection between being healthy and being able to stay calm in a stressful situation? Will a healthy person be able to keep their cool during a test? That's what we wanted to know, and that's why we chose to create this hypothesis.
To collect data to test this hypothesis, a survey was conducted through all Bio 202 students at SCC. First, the students were asked how many hours a week they exercise. Then, on a day of an exam, the students were asked to take their pulse twice, once before the exam and once 30 minutes into the exam. Our group then took this collected data and found the difference between the two heart rates. We compared the data between the students who said they exercised less than 3 hours a week and more than 3 hours a week.
The conclusion: there was not much of a change between the two parties. Looking at the chart, people who exercised more than 3 hours a week had an average change of 1 more beat per minute. This means that their heart rate was slightly elevated during the test than right before. People that exercised less than 3 hours a week had a change of negative 1 beat per minute. This means that their heart rate was slightly lower during the test than right before.
Unfortunately, there was not a great enough change in heart rate to support our hypothesis. Therefore, as far as we can tell with the information provided, exercising does not have an impact on an individual's stress level while taking an exam.
During stressful situations, such as taking an exam, the brain releases ACTH, which goes down to the adrenal glands, which then secrete adrenaline. This adrenaline causes an increase in heart rate. This increase in heart rate is likely to cancel out the lower heart rate that the regular exercisers might have had.
Moving on to our second hypothesis. A chronic Coke drinker will have a higher heart rate immediately after biking.
It's pretty well known that soda isn't the healthiest of drinks. Hundreds of studies have been done that correlate the consumption of soda to heart disease, cavities, dementia, asthma, dehydration, obesity, and many, many more. What our group was really focusing on, however, was the effects of caffeine on a person's heart rate. Caffeine blocks adenosine receptors, which increases central nervous system activity. It also affects dopamine, ACTH, serotonin, and releases epinephrine, which eventually increases the heart rate. Small amounts of caffeine are not dangerous, however, if consumed often enough and in large quantities. Caffeine can have negative effects on the body and can also become quite addictive. We wanted to know if the negative effects on a chronic Coke drinker's heart would show an elevation in heart rate during exercise.
To collect data to test this hypothesis, a survey was conducted through all Bio 202 students at SCC. First, the students were asked if they drink Coke regularly or if they do not. Then each student took their pulse before getting on a stationary bike. They then rode the bike for 3 minutes, and immediately after getting off the bike, the students took their pulse for a second time. Our group then took this collected data and found the difference between the two heart rates. We compared the data between the students who said they drank Coke regularly and those who don't.
The conclusion. Coke drinkers had an average of an increase of 34 beats per minute after riding the bike. Non-Coke drinkers had an increased average of 33 beats per minute after riding the bike. The difference in heart rate between a chronic Coke drinker and a non-Coke drinker is 1 beat per minute. The results do support our hypothesis, however, by a minuscule amount. Therefore, as far as we can tell with the information provided, Coke drinking on a regular basis does not have a great impact on your heart rate after riding a bike.
Looking at background research, it has been seen that your body removes caffeine quickly, and so the effects are short-lived, which is why many people consume caffeine regularly to continue to experience the stimulus. However, continued consumption of caffeine leads to developing a tolerance to it, meaning eventually a person may not be able to feel the stimulating effects of caffeine as they once had. This leads us to believe that it is possible that because the effects are short-lived, unless a person drinks a Coke right before getting on a bike, we will not see the effects in heart rate. Or if the Coke drinker has developed a tolerance to caffeine, it then has no effect on them and would not cause a change in heart rate after riding the bike.
This very educational video was brought to you by Project Animus, including group members Gabby, Wes, and Kelly.